Surprise everyone and welcome to a new episode of Surprise Guest with Pia Arcangel, where every conversation is an unexpected conversation which makes for laughter, sometimes tears, but lots and lots of good, thoughtful, insightful conversation. And that's what we're after. So maraming salamat po sa pag-download, pag-stream at pakikinig sa inyong paboritong streaming platform. And for today, we have another surprise guest na isang espesyal na panauhin, I'm sure, pero ang hindi ko sure kung sino siya. So, okay, makakatanggap tayo ng mga clues. Unang clue, sinong maiisip mo sa mga salitang ito? Oh, nahulaan ko na. Okay, but I will go through the clues one by one. First, Batangas. Second, buhay ni Rizal. Third, bisikleta. Fourth, balita. At ang ikalimang clue, bye-bye. There can only be one. I'm so sure of this. Is that you, Howie? Sir Howie Severino? Yes!
Surprise!
Hi! Oh, what a wonderful surprise!
Wow, napaka-obvious naman ang mga clues.
The clincher was the bye-bye-in, di ba? Kasi yung Batangas medyo iffy pa. Pero pagdating ng bye-bye-in, sure na yun.
Marami tayo. Oh, yeah, correct. Well, it's great to see you again, Pia. Nakita tayo sa Cebu pa noong September sa masterclass ng GMA. So, great seeing you. And congratulations on your podcast and advance happy birthday.
Uy, thanks, Howie. Wow, you remembered my birthday. Thank you. And thank you also for being with us dahil sabi mo nga, di ba, we were together in Cebu. That was 2 days, di ba? Pero parang bitin pa rin lahat ng conversation natin. Medyo bitin pa. So I'm so happy we get to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's great, no? Baka iniisip ng mga listeners and viewers natin, lahat ng mga nasa TV, magkakabarkada at magkakasama palagi, no? But actually, sa TV lang kita nakikita usually, except sa makeup room paminsan-minsan, no? So, sa Cebu lang tayo talaga nakapag-bonding. And I have to say, no, kasi I was observing you interact with the students. You're so down to earth, Pia, no? I'm not trying to flatter you because it's your podcast, no? So,
or because it's my birthday.
Yeah, well, maybe that too. But, you know, I found, if I were a student, I would have found you very approachable and even modest, no? Considering, you know, you're a celebrity, you've been on TV, you've been an anchor for so long. They were asking really earnest questions and you were giving really sensible answers, no? So, not that I was that surprised. And you naman na, you know, you were that kind of person. Pero doon lang kita na napakinggan ng medyo matagal. You know, apart from, you know, your anchoring. We know that's a very different context, no? But yung interaction na yun sa Cebu, it kind of humanized you in my eyes. So, yeah.
Thank you so
I think
much.
I know you better.
Thanks, Howie. I really enjoyed. Alam mo, nung pagbalik natin galing Cebu, for our listeners, kasi magkasama kami ni Howie sa Cebu for GMA Masterclass. It was a discussion on artificial intelligence and we were there for 2 days. And pag-uwi ko, sabi ko sa husband ko, kay Miko, I said, grabe, spending that much time with Howie, I felt like parang tumalino ako just by spending time with you. Eh, di ba lagi mong sinasabi sa podcast, ang mahabang attention span nakakatalino. So sabi ko, parang yung 2 araw na magkasama tayo, nakakatalino.
Itong podcast mo, it's not exactly brief din, no? Or actually counterintuitive in that sense. Kaya ako sinasabi yun, just to remind people there's value in length, no? Kasi ngayon ang trend ay paiksi ng paiksi ang content, di ba? Ang nauso yung TikTok, which is, you know, 1 minuto mahaba na. Sinasabi ng maraming eksperto na napakaiksi na rin ang attention span ng karaniwang tao because there's so many distractions, etc. So, I think itong mga ginagawa nating long form format on audio, on the internet, itong podcast, but at the same time, I've been doing it for a long time sa TV, no? It's a documentary, which is long-form non-fiction. No? It goes against that trend. And I think we have to remind people of the value of that. Yung sinasabi ko nakakatalino yung mahabang attention span, no? Hindi ko naman inimbento yan. You know, there's a science behind it. Kahit anong bagay naman, whether you're studying for an exam or trying to learn the piano or trying to memorize something, kung sobrang maiksi yung attention span mo, sobra kang distracted sa daming nangyayari sa mundo, sa daming nangyayari sa telepono mo, medyo nakakababaw ng isip. I mean, hindi ako nagsasabi niyan, ha? Yung mga scientist na nagsasabi niyan. It limits your ability to learn. We have to, sa atin, no? Kasi nakaka-influence tayo ng kapwa, I think we have to remind people, if you're able to listen intently to a conversation for half an hour or up to an hour, it's already an accomplishment these days. Kaya ako rin sinasabi yan. I mean, you know, it's not just a slogan. If you repeat something often enough, baka maalala din ng mga tao and they they might apply it in their lives.
Baka tumatak. And that's exactly what you said when you received your CMMA, which I have to congratulate you for. Congratulations to the Howie Severino podcast on your CMMA. Because I like also what you said na parang this sort of legitimizes this format as really a way to educate and inform. And that means it's something that people are beginning to embrace as well. So congratulations also on your recent win,
Salamat.
Howie.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, of course, you're just as deserving, no? Nauna lang ako ng konti, but you're just as deserving.
Syempre,
Thank you.
yours was the first podcast of GMA Integrated News and talagang it really paved the way for the rest of us. So inspiring. Actually, nung nakita kita, sabi ko, yung thought bubble ko when you appeared on screen, I was like, uh-oh. Kasi our format is very different from yours. Kasi sa inyo talagang well-researched and all. Pero syempre ito, kasi it's a surprise. So we don't have the same, the same format in that sense. But, it's really just, like I said earlier, kung saan tayo mapunta sa usapang ito, bahala na.
So, I mean, now that you mentioned format, Pia, let's talk about that a little bit, no? Kasi, first of all, sino nakaisip nito, no? It's unique. It's a unique format. And you've taken to it naturally, Ang ganda ng mga conversations mo. Pero sino who deserves credit for this? Ikaw ba? Ikaw ba nakaisip nito?
We all collaborated. We were thinking of new ideas, parang new formats. And then this is actually based on other podcasts because there's this podcast also in the US. They're a group actually, a group of 3 hosts. It's only one host who knows who the guest is. So it's a surprise for the 2 others. So because that way, the conversation isn't always just, like a Q&A. It's an actual conversation. Like, if you happen to chance upon somebody you kind of know or are meeting for the first time. So parang ganon. Parang kinakabahan ako dito, Howie.
No, I'll ask you about this. No? Kasi itong style mo where you have a surprise interviewee or guest, no? It's a bit counterintuitive, if I may say, no? Para sa ating mga journalists or trained in mass comm or even research. Kasi it goes against our training na kailangan lagi kang handa, no? I mean, to me, yan lang yung sinasabi ko sa estudyante.
Yes.
No? There's no secret to what we do, no? But a lot of it has to do with preparation, no? But itong format mo, it's hard to prepare. I don't know how. So, ang unang tanong ko kasi sanay ako magtanong kaysa sumagot sa tanong, ha? So, I have
That's
to ask
fine.
you.
Ako
I have
rin
to
eh.
ask you. Yeah. So, how prepared or unprepared are you for these surprise guests?
So I've been lucky because usually I have an idea who the guest is. And parang that's really the point. Parang you have guests that you already know a little bit about. Even if I don't know who the guest is, the team, of course, they get in touch with the guest. They do the research. Sometimes, if they have questions of their own or they want to lead the conversation in a certain direction, sometimes they'll message me if there's something that they want me to ask. But you know what? Kasi Howie, like you said, diba? Parang our work kasi kailangan laging prepared ka, laging handa. Diba? We're so used to that, especially when you're out on the field. You have to have all your questions ready. So I thought parang the podcast would be a nice break. Parang I want to try going into a conversation na yung parang wala lang, kwentuhan lang talaga. Na hindi siya yung one-on-one, Q&A, ganyan. Just pure kwentuhan. So that's how this idea was born.
Ang naisip ko while listening to some of your episodes, no, your format is only going to work if you have wide stock knowledge. Seriously, I mean, parang nagugulat ako minsan, like halimbawa, I mean, minsan sa totoo lang iniisip ko, chika lang yung surprise, alam na niya eh. Kasi paano niya nalaman, halimbawa, na itong si Vilma Santos nag-zumba sa kanyang vlog. So, is it just a coincidence na napanood mo na? Kunyari, sinurprise ako ng aking team na Vilma Santos. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen her vlog. I wouldn't know na nag-zumba siya. Pero you brought it up in the conversation. It led to this whole phenomenon of vlogging and then yung nagpatulong siya kay Lucky, pati yung mga kasambahay niya, yung household staff niya, sumasali sa vlog. I mean, it kind of opened up this whole, all these trains of thought, no, na I would not have been able to trigger kasi hindi ko nga siya napanood na nagzuzumba. But I would have talked about Dekada 70. This movie I saw with Vilma Santos maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah. But it gives you an idea, Howie, of what my algorithm is like on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Talagang very varied, very mixed yung algorithm ko. Kaya kung ano-anong nakikita ko.
Yeah. Well, because of itong mga triggers mo, no, you're able to start these various conversations because of this stock knowledge, no. Ang dami ko rin nalalaman bukod sa nag-humanize yung mga guest mo, no. I was able to find like inside info about certain guests. For example, I listened to the entire conversation with Annette Gozon, no? Because
Oh,
anak
that
na
one I
siya.
really enjoyed, but I was nervous that whole time.
Well, I can imagine, no? I mean, ano kaya, were you careful with what you were asking, no? But ang lumabas doon is, syempre, we don't know this family that well. The boss, we see him in the elevator. He's quite businesslike. Pero ang lumabas doon is that they're very close-knit. They're very warm. The kids are, raised to be achievers. At the same time, parang di naman sila spoiled. They had a lot of privileges growing up, no? Pero parang di naman sila, I mean, see, Annette kept talking about, hindi siya yung pang on-cam. She's really just a worker, no? And then, ang isang siguro pinaka-surprising doon is she took to her role at GMA quite almost naturally because her mom was a big showbiz fan from the start,
Yes.
no? From
Who
when she
had
was a child.
magazines.
So they had all these entertainment magazines at home when magazines were still, on paper, and you'd have subscriptions, and they'd be in her house. And so she was familiar with the artista. So hindi lang siya tong super achiever na nag-Harvard, nag-UP, lawyer, a corporate lawyer, and all of that. She's medyo ma-showbiz din siya, no? And kasama sa skills niya yung nakakaisip siya ng mga original storylines, no? Siya pala yung nakaisip ng Clay character doon sa Maria Clara at
Yes.
Ibarra, no? I mean, frankly, I don't really watch a lot of entertainment kasi much of our work is already on screen, so I try to avoid watching more than I need to. But I did watch Maria Clara at Ibarra, no? Kasi of course I'm a Rizal fan, no? So
Oh, yeah,
I was
exactly. That's
yeah, so
right up your alley.
exactly. And it was curious. And then the twist nga, that Gen Z character, that's the hook, no? And then siya pala nakaisip. She wasn't just the boss, no? I mean, she's really a part of the creative team. So thank you, for bringing us into the kind of the lives of these people.
Hold
I
on,
have to go on.
Howie.
Yeah.
Wait, I noticed something. You're the one asking me questions.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, no? And like I
This
said,
is so
no? I
fun.
mean, trabaho ko to eh. So I'm
Okay, so baliktad ba tayo ngayon? Because now they're
Oh, I
telling me
don't
na
know.
baliktad pala tayo ngayon.
Well, you can ask me. I'm a naturally curious person. That's why I went into this
Same
kind of profession,
here.
no? So yeah. So I've always been wanting to ask you these things. And what I like about some of your episodes is you really explore the humble beginnings of people who are famous, no? And then, so I find that inspiring because for a lot of, ordinary people, parang may inspire sila na, if I just look for the right breaks and I work hard and I develop my talents, I can do well in life. Halimbawa, si Arnold Clavio, you had a memorable conversation with him, Batang Tondo, no? Yung kwento niya na nagpa-public siya. I mean, he even remembers the exact rides, no, he would take to get to
Yes.
his first job. What was critical with him is he had a talent for humor in the way he was doing the news, no? And he was theatrical kasi nga may theater background siya, no?
Oo. That's what made him
Yeah.
very different and very special. And I remember when I was starting, he was one of the first pillars that I got a chance to work with. And syempre, di ba, pag bago ka naman sa GMA, medyo nakaka-intimidate to be working with the pillars because these are people that, I used to watch on TV, that I would see their work and I know how respected they are and how many awards they each have. But I remember si Egan has this special gift na he can really make you super at ease because he uses humor. And, some of the stories that he mentioned during the podcast, those were stories that I would hear. There are so many more stories that he would tell us like off cam, but are not suitable for the podcast.
Yeah, tsaka ang galing niya mag-mimic, no? Kasi yung style niya is Tagalogin niya yung English news reports, no? Na lumalabas yata sa TV. Kasi dati English language yung TV news, no? I mean, correct me if I'm trying to remember all of this, no? But may mga quotes, di ba? He would have to read the text, no? So he would mimic these politicians. Sabi mo, okay, sample. Off the top of his head, na-mimic niya si Erap. I mean, si Erap kasi buhay pa yan and then he's still kind of in the news, no? Pero someone like, naalala pa niya yung boses ni Neptali Gonzalez, no?
Yes.
Na many listeners now will probably not remember because he was one of those senators from like 20 plus years ago, no? Si Senator Neptali. Pero kuhang-kuha niya, no? Naisip ko, this guy is really talented. Like off the top of his head, naalala niyo yung boses nito and na-mimic niya, no? Like on the spot. I don't know kung, I'm sure hindi niyo na-rehearse yun. Hindi mo, chinat mo muna, uy, papasample ko si Neptali Gonzalez, ha? You should. Kita mo talaga, these people are really talented at, that was really the key. They were able to develop their talent. And yung isa pa, no, yung kay Tim Yap, no? So, isipin mo, this
Wow, how
guy
you
is
really listen to a lot of episodes.
this guy is just I'm a podcast fan, of course. Kasi alam mo yung podcasting, I can listen while I'm gardening. No? So,
Oh, that's true.
it's different from what I don't watch. To be honest, I don't do a lot of Netflix because you have to focus. You can't do anything else. You can't read. You can't. But while you're listening to music, you're listening to podcasts. Guys, I do a lot of gardening. I do a lot of gardening now. So, able to listen to. So anyway, yung kay Tim Yap, may theater background din pala siya. Sabi niya, he's done everything, no? Not just on stage, but he was a stagehand, he sold tickets, etc. So again, my humble beginning din itong taong to get to where he is, no? So, I find that inspiring. I mean, kung ako na-inspire, no, ano pa kaya yung mga nagsisimula pa lang, o hindi pala alam kung ano yung gagawin nila, or nagtataka kung ano yung saan sila maghahanap ng break, no? So, that's one of the great things about your podcast. No? I mean, you're able to, you're actually profiling rather than just talking about issues. Kasi, in my podcast, I talk about things like red tagging and, the evacuation ng OFW sa Gaza, yung mga ganun. No?
Yes, I remember. You even had that episode na yung you were talking to a Filipina who was in Ukraine, diba? During the height of the conflict.
Yeah, yung backpacker.
Yes.
The young backpacker na. Yeah. Well, thank you for remembering that. No, so. But are you ever tempted to like ask really tough questions? Like, for example, si Vilma Santos. No, I mean, of course, she's more than an artista. She kept mentioning she's a public servant. No, I noticed you didn't really ask her anything about politics.
Yes.
It was mostly about her friends in the entertainment business. But I'm wondering, were you tempted to ask her like, ano bang priorities mo as a politician? What kind of change do you want to see? Yung mga ganon, no? What are you advocating,
actually,
no? Yeah.
Even because we also had Aika Robredo on the show before, and we had some political questions, but mostly because we want to keep it. Kasi nga the idea is parang kung wari nagkasalubong kayo sa coffee shop, parang you're not gonna try and really pick their brains out in the
Hindi siya
coffee shop,
interview.
diba?
Okay.
Hindi siya interview, so ayaw mo ma-hold up rin yung mga guest mo, diba?
That's right.
Also because when they're briefed before the show, they're told that it's really a conversation na parang bahala na where this will go. But sometimes if there are topics that they're uncomfortable with, they'll tell us naman during the course of the interview, and we respect that because from the get-go naman it's clear na it's not a hard-hitting one-on-one interview. It's really just a conversation. So it's tempting, but you mentioned earlier you're a naturally curious person, and it's the same for me. I think this is also one of the ideas why I approached Eva and I asked her, can we have some, parang I said it would be great to do a podcast, no? So interesting. And it was actually my husband who said, during the height of pandemic, diba, syempre you're together the whole time, diba, in quarantine. And he's like, wow, you have so many questions. I said, that's my work. I'm a journalist. I have questions all the time. He said, what would be a good outlet for you? You try doing a podcast. So he was actually just joking me. And then I said, you know what? That is a great idea. So I broached the topic, and, with the help of Sino Eva, we were able to form this show.
Your audience is lucky, no? Frankly, I probably could not do it your style kasi hindi ko ma-overcome yung compulsion to prepare kasi mapapraning ako eh. I'd be afraid of saying something totally inaccurate or unfactual, or I take too long formulating the questions kasi hahanapin ko muna sa phone ko kung tama yung date or yung year or yung ganon. I guess that's the more conventional way of doing an interview. I mean, I do it the conventional way.
I actually made a request after we guested Ma'am Annette. I said, guys, next time, pag yung mga tipong boss yung guest natin, baka you can warn me a little. Kasi parang, diba, you're just, you're early naman, you're there on time, waiting, but biglang, whoa, it's a boss. But because Miss Annette, she's so game to answer all the questions. It really turned out to be such a fun episode. Because like you mentioned nga, parang I learned so many things. Like my favorite was when she was telling us a story about how her mom would bring lunch to school for the kids, for her siblings.
And they'd have their own table.
That was really fun.
And I guess I can repeat it since lumabas na sa podcast mo, no? They all slept together in the same bedroom until they were adults, no? So that's, I found that charming. It's cute, no? Sometimes I wish my son, who's 21, would do that, no? Kasi, he up to a certain age, he slept on our bed, no? Up to like age 9 until he got too big, and then I kind of pushed him away. No? Ngayon parang nami-miss ko na yung mga ganung panahon, no? It was kind of charming, no, to hear that na, wow, even that's how close they were.
And I guess that's the really fun part of doing any interview, diba, Howie? It's parang finding out things about other people that you never would have thought or never would have guessed.
Ang dami mo ng ilan na yung guests mo? The last one I listened to was Malu Mangahas, no? So, yun medyo seryoso, no? Well,
yes,
of course,
and she mentioned you several times, Howie. She
Yeah,
talked about
well,
your
PCIJ.
shared history.
Yes,
PCIJ.
yeah. Oh. I mean, she's si Malu naman is a stalwart. I mean, she's a giant in journalism, investigative journalism. We all know that. No? I mean, silang dalawa ni Sheila Coronel.
But Howie,
magka-generation yan eh.
can I go back to what you said earlier? Because I mean, I know the surprise here is you're supposed to be asking me the questions, but since we're both naturally curious people anyway, you mentioned that you miss having your son around so much. 21 years old, he's already 21. But I see your posts now. Your bonding is really, it amazes me because I was asking you about this, right? You do the rock climbing, the wall climbing.
Interesting topics and insightful conversations with one of the country's veteran and most award-winning journalists, Howie Severino. The Howie Severino podcast was hailed as one of Spotify's best new podcasts and has consistently been one of the top Philippine podcasts since its launch. The Howie Severino podcast. New episode streams every Thursday on major streaming platforms.
You mentioned that you miss having your son around so much. 21 years old, he's already 21. But I see your posts now. Your bonding is really, it amazes me because I was asking you about this, right? You do the rock climbing, the wall climbing, but he also
we
does
do climbing.
But he does parkour. Is that correct?
No. Okay. What he
okay.
does is called bouldering. Okay.
Okay.
Kasi in wall climbing, there are various kinds, no? I mean, there are various categories or events because it's considered a sport, no? It's now an Olympic sport. It's long been an extreme sport, no? But there are two major kinds, no? There's rope climbing. You climb rocks, rock faces, and walls in gyms using a harness and rope. And then there's also free climbing or yung tinatawag na bouldering where you don't use ropes, you don't use harness, but you don't go too high. And then when you go outdoor, may dala kang tinatawag na crash pad, no, yung parang kutsyon na makapal. So kung mahulog ka sa bato, at least hopefully you won't break your head open, no? And in the gym, malambot yung flooring. So what we both do is called bouldering. Although my son also does top rope, lead rope, yung tinatawag na lead rope, no, where may nagbe-belay, may partner ka, no? So, but ako, I only do bouldering kasi I can do that alone eh. If you climb with ropes, you need a partner all the time.
Oh.
So, ang anak ko, maraming barkada na nagka-climb, no? Kasi it's a kind of a Gen Z thing. Now, it's very trendy among Gen Z, millennials. Sa mga ka-age ko, hindi siya trendy. So, wala akong barkada in my age group na nagbo-bouldering. And I started bouldering. I started climbing because of my son.
Okay.
Kasi baka hindi na kami magkita eh kung hindi ako mag-bouldering eh. Isipin mo, 2 years siya stuck sa amin during the pandemic, di ba? Lahat naman ng bata eh lang. So, so isipin mo, no? You know, and he needs a social life and he's now he's in the dorm, sa college, and my girlfriend, may sarili siyang mundo and barkada. And so, you know, we let him have his own life. You know, he comes home, you know, he needs to do his laundry or something like that. Or he wants to be with us paminsan-minsan. Yeah, but he spends a lot of time climbing. Siyempre, I had to check it out to make sure, you know, on my own. Siyempre, hindi ko naman siya ni-restrict, no? Pero gusto ko lang silipin kung safe ba to, di ba? I mean, ano tong ginagawa ng anak ko? Safe. So I realized na, okay, hindi lang to relatively safe. No? I mean, it looked pretty safe, pero it looked like something I could try to do. I tried it. Siyempre, sobra akong nahirapan nung umpisa. But my son encouraged me. Siyempre, yung mga nasa gym na sobrang, you know, they're all as old as my son or young enough to be my son. Even some are young enough to be my grandson or granddaughter. And maraming babae nagka-climb. They were so encouraging. And then, sobra silang natutuwa seeing somebody my age try to climb. It's a bonding thing for me, between me and my son. And now, between me and other people in the gym. Now I go to the gym even when my son's not there.
Wow.
So because I like it. It's a great workout. It's a great community. And you can feel your progress. unlike, I also like to bike. Parang feeling ko, okay, I parang hindi na ako nagpo-progress sa bisikleta because I've been biking for like 50 years or something. Or
So
I
at
started
least it's something new. It's a new challenge for
yeah,
you.
it's something new and I can feel myself improving.
It's actually
Yeah.
not easy. Like you said, it's really not easy. I remember before when my daughter was much, much younger, maybe she's like maybe 10 years old. She and her cousins, they really enjoyed doing it. But they were like, I don't know what the term is, but it was like a baby wall. For me, it's a
Yeah.
baby wall. So I tried it with them. And wow, it was so much harder than I thought. They went much higher than I did.
Sanayan lang yan, no? And actually, doon sa gym ko, may mga baby wall, may mga child wall. Tinanggal na because after a couple of times, children want to do the adult walls already. Kasi
Ah.
magaling. So it's a very democratic sport. Climbing is really mostly about technique. It's not about pure power. It's not about strength lang. A big part of it is technique. It's about how you swivel your hips. It's about how you use your knees. It's about how you position your feet. It's about how it's a lot of it is cerebral. That's a big part of the appeal, no? Hindi to palakasan na sport. Big part of it is mental.
You said you've been biking for 50 years, Howie. Have you
More
always
actually. More. I started
you-
I'm 62, so I started at 7 years old.
Oh wow. Okay. So definitely more.
Yeah.
But
More.
have you always been a physically active person? Like you've always had a passion or love for the outdoors, for sports?
Yeah, oo. I can't claim to ever being like a great athlete. I know you interviewed Ivan Mayrina. He was like varsity high school basketball.
Yeah.
No? Kasi matangkad siya. Tsaka I'm sure he had the skills. No, I never really had the skills for like organize. I played, but I was really mediocre or bangko. No, but mahilig talaga ako sa sports. I just never really had the talent. Pero pinagtsagaan ko because I really enjoy the outdoors. I enjoy physical activity and that's partly what attracts me to television and doing our work. Kasi I started in newspapers where as a newspaper reporter, it was a lot more efficient to get a lot of interviews done by telephone rather than going around, to different offices with traffic and everything. Konti lang magagawa mo, no? So, pwede kang maupo sa kwarto mo, sa opisina, and just produce stories and just work. Sa television, and then yung sa paggawa ng dokumentaryo, you really have to go out. You have to go to the field, no? So, it fits my own interest. It fits my own inclination to want to be physically active. So I remember my brother and I, bata pa lang kami, nagka-camping na kami. Nung bata ako, mga 8, 9 years old, lumaki ako sa Amerika. A big part of my childhood is in the States because my father was a foreign service officer. So we were on the East Coast most of that time. Pag family vacation, we would go camping. We would set up tents, we would cook outdoors on like a barbecue grill, etc.
Wow, roasting
Or nagkampo.
marshmallows, ganyan.
Yeah, or real meals, no? Real meals
Okay.
we would cook, no? Na-realize ko lang later on, nagtitipid lang pala yung mga magulang ko, no? Kasi kasi syempre mas mura yung mag-tent, no? Kasi yung pupunta ka sa campsite, you'd pay like maybe a couple of dollars at that time for to have a campsite, whereas if you go to a hotel room, kahit
mas
isang
mahal.
kwarto kayo, well of course, no, and then you'd have hotel meals and ang mahal nun. So rather than have like a week-long vacation, ang bakasyon mo maybe 3 days lang. My brother and I, we never complained because we just loved it. No, we just loved camping. We loved, camping by rivers, and we loved hiking, and so we both kind of grew up just loving the outdoors, like in college, and then when I got an opportunity, to work in journalism, and in particular to do docus, I just felt, wow, this is the greatest job in the world, and I'm paid to do something like this. Wow, I get to climb mountains and go up river in the wilderness and meet tribal people and visit places that a lot of tourists aren't even able to go. I mean, it was just almost an extension of my childhood. So parang I never really grew up when I'm in the field, when I'm doing. Of course, hindi lang naman puro wilderness ang ginagawa natin, diba? I mean, I cover disasters. I've worked in, I've done work in Baseco, in, Smoky Mountain, nung may Smoky Mountain pa, dump sites, and, I've kayaked in Esteros and all of that, no? Pero, again, it's all been kind of part of this life of adventure that we've had.
But your love for the outdoors, it seems to be something really shared by your wife, Miss Ipat, right? I mean, both of you. And
Well,
isn't that parang a big reason also why you have set up or parang moved home into Batangas, where you're surrounded by nature.
yeah, well, we live in ito, makita mo, it's bahay kubo. It's kind of a stylized bahay kubo. It's larger than your typical bahay kubo, but it has an anahaw roof. It's mainly bamboo. It's just ventilated. Wala kaming aircon. We have a bamboo floor. Yeah, my wife, yeah, she was into mountaineering. She was, I mean, maybe that's why we got married. Pareho yung interest namin, no? We had common. She's a lawyer, so hindi siya. I don't know if I could be married to a journalist.
Too many questions at dinner time.
Yeah, or we find each other a resource. Kasi she has her own expertise. If we're both journalists, we'd just be asking each other questions and we wouldn't have enough answers, no? At least siya, I mean, my expertise siya, no? She's an environmental lawyer, no? And actually, that's how we met kasi nakatabi ko siya sa press conference.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's how you met. I thought maybe you were just in the same circle of friends.
Well, I first heard her name from Juni Calao. I don't know if you remember that name. He was a kind of a legend in the environmental movement, one of the founders of Haribon. And I would be interviewing him on the phone, and he would mention, "Oh, we have this environmental lawyer working with us, Ipat Luna, and maybe you should ask her this question because Juni Kala was not a lawyer, no." And so when he would mention her name, I thought it was this like kind of an older lawyer who's been around and been in the movement for so long. Nung nakita ko, parang fresh out of college, no? And then, yun nga, nakatabi ko siya sa press ko. I was doing a story, so, I started, calling her on, landline pa nun eh. This is a long time ago, by the way. So, she gave me a condition before we got married. I mean, you have to get your diving license first. Not driver, not driver's license. You have to learn how to dive, and you have to be certified, no? But she was really an avid diver.
Wow,
no?
I thought her condition might be, make sure you have something career related or something like that, but diving license.
Wala. She's really an advocate, no? She's not really a careerist in that sense, no? So, yun. So, in fact, I did, and that's what I did, no? Before we got married, I made sure that I went through the course, a difficult one with the instructors that she recommended. Siyempre, that was her condition eh. And I wanted to marry her. So, and then nung graduation, kasi ang graduation sa diving course eh, there's a checkout dive, diba? You have to take a dive trip with your instructor. And then she went, no, to make sure na, I really graduated from. Not just that, she brought her parents.
Wow. Okay. Her parents are also divers.
No, they were not.
No, okay.
They were not. She's the youngest of six. Eh. So, medyo elderly na yung parents niya noon. Pero dinala pa rin niya. I guess maybe her parents were curious about this guy, no? So, who's this crazy guy who's going to marry our daughter and we'll get a diving certificate first before getting married. So, yun. So, may witness ako. They attended my diving graduation. So, yeah. So, that's how we got started.
I love learning how you and Miss Ipat met. I never would have guessed.
Corny ba? I mean,
No, it wasn't how I imagined it to be.
Well, we didn't meet in a club or anything like that. It was serendipity in a way.
It's super sweet. How many years ago was that?
The press con was 1993. So we started dating 1994, and then we got married at the end of 1994.
So 40, tama ba? Is my computation? Yeah, 40 years.
I should remember. Oh my God, it's
Wait,
my anniversary
94 is 04. Kasi 2024 na next year. So 94, 04.
So 29?
14.
29? 29?
30, yeah, so 30 years next year. Wow! Happy
30
anniversary!
Thank you. 30? Oh my gosh. Oh nga,
yeah, 30.
milestone.
That's your pearl. That's your pearl anniversary. Oh, now you know now what.
Pearl?
Pag 30 years pearl. So now you know what your gift for Miss Ipat will be. Something
Well,
pearl.
yeah, and then we have to plan something other than kasi sometimes we'll just go on a long bike ride, anniversary event namin eh. We don't throw big parties or anything. There was one time we did a long kayak ride. We did a long kayak trip on the lake, and then meron kaming isang destination on a kayak, parang isang sacred cave. We went to a sacred cave for one of our milestone anniversaries. I think it was the 25th. Yeah, and then pagdating doon, pagdating doon, may baon kaming Filipiniana outfits. Filipiniana outfit kami doon sa Sacred Cave. Kasi parang historically, parang nagmi-meet doon yung mga revolusyonaryo, yung mga babaylan, yung mga nangsusubli, yung mga gano'n, no? Yung mga tradition nangyari doon sa Sacred Cave. So nagpilipiniana kami, nakapaa kami, nag-pictorial kami doon. That was what we did on one anniversary. But I don't know, maybe the 30th we should get some
Wow.
friends together. And
When's your anniversary? What month?
December 30, Rizal Day, of
Wow.
course.
Did you choose? Of course, you chose that to get married on
Well,
Rizal Day.
No, we wanted to make sure holiday ang anniversary namin.
Para you
Diba?
can always
So,
celebrate.
yeah. So we'd always have the day off or a holiday, and and we realized, okay, Rizal Day na rin, we both love Rizal, and we want to commemorate that as well. So
Very
yeah,
forward thinking.
yeah. My wife actually, siya naman nakakaisip nito.
Okay.
I just go along. I just go. As I said, no, in one of our anniversary posts, or maybe it was a birthday post or something. I just been very lucky because my wife has all these enterprising ideas. I just have to say yes, and I just have and I already lead an interesting life. I don't have to think of a lot of things on my own. Kasi siya naman nakakaisip niyan eh. So, kaya mag-paddle tayo, tapos mag-Filipiniana out. Okay, go! Oh, let's do a long bike ride. Okay, go! And then, pagawa tayo yung bahay kubo na doon sa probinsya. Oh, sige, go. Okay, gano'n lang. Ako yung taga-go.
That's the best advice. Just say yes to what your wife says and you lead an interesting
Yeah.
life already.
Exactly. It starts with marrying the right person, no, and then making sure that you're aligned in your values and main interests. Just make sure na aligned kayo on most things, no. If you have younger viewers or listeners who are wondering, whether they've met the right person already, diba? I mean, you gotta make sure of those things, kasi later on, once that extremely romantic time is past, of course you always revisit that, no, but it's not going to be 24/7 the rest of your marriage, diba? At the very least, your values have to be aligned, diba? You can't have major disagreements about child rearing, about smoking in the house, or di ba?
Very practical, yes.
Yeah. Kasi yun ang minsan yan ang ugat ng away eh, di ba? And a disagreement that can't be resolved, di ba? Or the way you spend money, or mga ganung bagay. Hindi naman kami perfectly aligned. That's why, sabi ko sa'yo, when we're not aligned, I just say, go. I just go with the flow. Usually disagreements are very minor and we can deal with them. And I'm sure it's the same with you and Miko, no? So
yeah, he says yes to me.
well, good. We both married the right kind of women. No? I mean, you don't have to worry too much about lousy decision making or. We trust. Basically, it really begins with trust. It doesn't always work out, diba? It doesn't always work out. Sometimes decisions aren't the right ones, but you just gotta go with it, accept it, kasi you know that most times naman the wife will get it right.
Yes. And sometimes the husband also has good advice. Like in my case, when he said, go try put up a podcast. Okay.
Good call. Congratulate him for me. But that wasn't too hard a call actually on his part, diba? I mean, we are naturals. I'm lucky because she, building this house, for example, was really her idea. I live living in the province, no? I love living in this kind of house. Sawang-sawa na ako tumira sa condo or the city. This is really the lifestyle I want. But I would not have the patience to build something like this na sobrang mabusisi, yung maghahanap ka ng kawayan. Ang daming kawayan nito. Yung builder namin, parang nung una, sinabihan ng asawa ko, ay, okay, gagawa ka ng bamboo floor, pero ayokong gumamit ka ng pako. Huwag kang bibili ng mga piyesa sa hardware, no? So, nung una, kinamutan kami ng ulo ng builder, no? So, saan mo ako maghahanap ng paraan para na gumawa ng bamboo floor na walang pako, no? Pero nahanapan niya ng paraan, no? He made lots and lots of bamboo pegs. No?
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason is kasi if you have any experience with bamboo floors, if you go to a beach resort with a bamboo hut, no, with nails, kasi typical bamboo floors have nails, no. So after a while, pag medyo luma na yung kubo o yung floor, lalabas na yung ulo ng pako.
Nakausli na.
Exactly. At masusugatan ka or mapupunit yung medyas mo, o yung shorts mo pag umupo ka. Pero hindi yan nangyayari sa bamboo pegs. Hindi yan, and of course, kung bamboo peg yan, kahit lumabas yung ulo niyan, kung masugatan ka ng bamboo peg, hindi ka pwedeng magkaroon ng tetano. Yung lumang pako, 'di ba? Medyo may kalawang na yun eh.
Oo.
Kung masugatan ka ng lumang pako, yes, of course. So we wanted our house to be safe, child friendly, kasi when we made this, our child was still pretty young and he had cousins who were young and we had guests who had young children. So, and for us also, for adults, no, we wanted it to be safe. I mean, that was just one of her, something that takes a lot of diligence, and maybe it's just me na hindi ako ganun ka-patient with those details. I would never have been able to build a house like this. Pero yung asawa ko nakagawa, and I'm the one mostly enjoying it. But she's the one, kasi, she still works in the city. I still work in the city, but every chance I get, I'm here. So
you're there more often.
Kung ang trabaho ko mostly ganito, nagpo-podcast or doing writing a script, dito na ako, no? But I go to the office then. I have some work as a consultant sa GMA News, talking to people at GMA News online, to the SOCMED team, just checking in with them and chit-chatting with them, offering informal advice and gathering information then about what I need to know about what's going on in the office.
Pero parang sanay ka na rin sa commute, di ba? Because I remember nung GMA, the Thanksgiving Gala, which was held at Marriott, right? In Pasay. That was evening. You said that you were gonna go home all the way to Batangas, and we're all like, wow, so even if it's already nighttime, past 10 in the evening, you still make the trip home to Batangas.
Yes, and you know what? I regretted it at that time. Kasi remember
Kasi mahaba.
Gala na, maulan pa yung gabi yun.
That's
Remember?
right.
It was raining. And then sa totoo lang, kasi the invitation said parang, the gala starts at 6 p.m. sharp, 'di ba? So ayokong malate, no? So sanay naman akong bumiyahe papuntang Manila, no? So naisip ko, okay, parang an hour and a half. So kayang-kaya yan. So I left at a particular hour na thinking it would be a typical drive to Manila. Pero on the way, parang bumuhos yung ulan. And then nagka-traffic pati sa Skyway, nagka-traffic, no? So, ang layo. Kikita mo yung mga red lights ng tail lights, no? Ang haba ng pila, and I kept looking at the clock sa kotse, parang sobra akong malilate, no? So I had these visions in my head na lahat ng tao nakaupo, and then ako lang yung late sa pagpasok ko, lahat nakatingin sa akin and all of that, no? Kasi in previous years, I would be out shooting. So hindi ako nakaka-attend ng gala eh. So this would be like my first gala in years. So I didn't know what to expect, no? Pagdating ko doon, wala akong mahanap na parking. So ikot ako ng ikot. Pagdating ko doon, I was late, pero ang dami palang ibang late, no? So
yeah. Actually,
so I'm used to that drive, and I don't need to make it that often. So I'm here most of the time.
Oh, that's nice. And I was curious nga ito. I was gonna ask you, kasi sabi mo, wala naman kayong aircon dyan. Pero, meron ba kayo electric fan? I mean, are there times that you still need an electric fan? Pag summer, sobrang
of course.
init.
May kuryente naman kami. We have electric fans. And,
I'm sure may ilaw.
May ilaw. I mean, my desk lamp ako ngayon. No, of course. We're not off the grid. Although we have a windmill that pumps our water using the wind, no. And then on our roof we have some solar panels. So nakakatipid kami sa kuryente. But we're still close enough to the city that we're connected to the grid. Yun, may kuryente kami. But your structures namin are made with tropical design. So tropical materials, so local materials, so it's mostly bamboo and also repurposed wood. Nakamana kami ng lumang bahay na giniba kasi gagamitin na yung lote para sa ibang klaseng structure. So ginaba yung bahay na namana namin yung mga lumang kahoy, and then so ginamit namin dito sa bahay yung mga lumang poste ng yakal, and then yung matitigas na mga plywood. So, yung kahoy namin dito is very solid. Subok na, so hindi siya aanayin kasi kasi nasa lumang bahay for like decades. It's a combination of repurposed wood and bamboo, and then yung bubong namin is nahaw. So it's classic tropical design in that sense. Tropical design is really yung cooling niyan. Of course, walang air condition ng panahon ni Rizal, no? They did it through design, through physics, through wind flows and ventilation. So aalamin ng builders kung saan yung wind flows, saan yung hangin, saan yung araw, saan sumisikat yung araw, saan tumatama yung araw pagtanghaling tapat. You know, you make sure you've got shady trees. So, pwede mong kontrolin yung environment mo the natural way, which we do. Kasi aircon is already is an artificial way already. It's an unnatural way of controlling your environment. So, if you plan on an air-conditioned space, you don't have to think about airflows or saan yung araw or anong oras pinakamainit. You don't have to think about all those things kasi kahit ano naman, you can make it freezing temperature kung gusto mo any time of the day, di ba? So, pero kung wala kang aircon, we never planned on, I mean, it's impossible to air condition this house kasi bukas sobrang siyang bukas, no? So yung ventilation namin dito is 360, no? So, ayan, that's our windows. So, bukas yung windows
so
namin.
much natural light, no?
Yeah, and then if you notice, bukas yung gilid namin. If you come here with Miko and your daughter, I'll give you it, and then we have a little...
So paano yan? Diba, it's so open. Paano naman pag umuulan? Or pag sobrang lakas ng hangin?
We close the windows.
Have you experienced yung sa sobrang lakas ng ulan or hangin, yung parang nagra-rattle na yung mga window?
Actually, dinadaanan kami ng bagyo rito. And we also have a tree house, that's also made out of bamboo, no? Ayun talaga, direct hit yon kasi the wind's not even blocked by trees, eh. Kasi sa harap ng bahay namin, meron kaming ilang puno, no? So, we have bao trees to the side, we have a talisay tree here, we have molave, we've got white lawaan, we have katmon, we've got nara trees. So, we're surrounded by trees. So, protected kami ng mga puno sa hangin. Pero siyempre, hinahangin pa rin kami. Pero ang kawayan kasi, naturally flexible material yan. So, it's not just going to break, di ba? I mean, kaya ginagawang bow and arrow, no? Yung kawayan. Kasi pwede mong i-bend yan. You can make it can turn it into all kinds of furniture and other objects, no? Kasi it's a very flexible and very, very sturdy material, no? Tinamaan kami rito ng earthquakes, powerful typhoons, even volcanic eruptions. Our house has been left standing the whole time. I mean, we all of our structures have survived. It's proof of concept. Tropical design is meant for a tropical environment. I'm not saying hindi to babagsak, no? Pag may malakas na bagyo or kung may kunyari super typhoon, parang Yolanda or Lindol. Pero so far, it served us well. It has provided shelter to us, even in the worst conditions, and we're pretty happy with what we've done here.
May kapitbahay ba kayo? As in, yung malapit na kapitbahay?
Yes, actually, next door is a barangay center, parang satellite office ng mayor. So they call it the tourism center. Nasa laylayan kami ng isang bayan sa Batangas, yung mataas na kahoy, no. So yung pinaka-poblasyon nito nasa taas ng Gulod. We're right next to Taal Lake, no. So Taal Lake is on a parang malaking kaldera na ganito, no. And then you've got on one side you have Tagaytay, di ba? Kaya yung view ng Taal Volcano is spectacular, no? From Tagaytay, you see the crater and all that. Pero downwards yung tingin mo kasi elevated yung On the other side, ganun din. On the other side, you have, mataas na kahoy, you've got Lipa, you've got Cuenca, Alitagtag. All of these towns that are elevated, no? So kapiraso lang yung shoreline na mababa yung elevation. Kasama kami doon. We are almost at sea level here. We're slightly above sea level. Pero ang poblasyon where the mayor's office is about, I would say, about 15 to 20 minutes away going uphill. So, nasa margins kami ng bayan. And katabi namin yung parang satellite office. Kung gustong, halimbawa, magbigay ng ayuda yung mayor para sa fishing communities dito sa Laylayan, or gusto niya makipag-meeting, or gusto niya mag-socials, nandiyan siya sa katabi namin. Kaya, we have fairly good security here.
Kasi katabi niyo sila.
Yeah, katabi namin yung municipal facility. So, on the other side naman of us is a river. And then, on the other side of the river is already Balete town. And then, We have the home of a police officer na next to
Oh,
the river. So again, when if you're
okay pala
talking about
mga kapitbahay
security,
nyo.
yeah, napakabait ng mga kapitbahay namin.
Mhm.
Very provincial pa rito eh. People here are very modest. Batanggenyo Tagalog is kind of famous for its, in a way, its loudness, its roughness in a way, but a lot of it is affectionate, no? But it's kind of the opposite of Ilonggo, 'di
Mhm.
ba? Kahit
Oh,
galit na,
malambing eh.
parang malambing pa rin, 'di ba? Ang mga Batanggenyo, kahit nang lalambing sa'yo, parang hindi. Pero mababait, sobrang mababait yung mga tao. It's still very traditional and rural in that sense. Many
Mhm.
people who are here were born and raised here. We live in a traditional fishing community. Kaya wala masyadong turista rito. Kaya yung mga, kita mo yung early in the morning, I'm out on the lake shore. Inoobserbahan ko yung mga fishermen. Nakabalsa sila.
Wow.
Nagbababa sila ng mga lambat at hook and line ang kanila o sinisisid nila. Walang fish pen dito. Nasa kabila, nasa Tagaytay side yung mga fish pen
Wait,
and
hindi naman kayo na-evacuate nung nagbubuga na
nung
abo
Iraq.
ang taal? Oo.
Oo, ano yun, January 12, 2020, a couple of months before the pandemic started or was declared, no? So nag-ghost town kami rito. We're just 10 kilometers
Mm.
away from the volcano. So can you imagine, ang laki-laki ng
Oh.
volcano rito. We have a very clear view of it. It's unobstructed most days
Mhm.
unless medyo mahamog or mausok, no? Kasi nag-gassy pa rin ang bulkan eh. It's
Mhm.
active, no? It's one of the most active volcanoes on the planet, no? So we're just 10 kilometers away. Nasa loob kami ng danger zone. So
Mhm.
that's what makes living here exciting and interesting. Mulat kami rito, no? Anytime pwede kailangan kaming mag-evacuate. But the way I explain it to people is kasi syempre may mga nagtatanong, hindi ka ba natatakot kasi nandyan lang yung vulkan, it's always active. Sabi ko mas natatakot pa akong tumira sa Maynila eh. There's so many things
Ibang
that can happen to
elemento.
you. Oh, yeah, well, maraming elemento sa Manila, 'di ba? Bukod sa
Mm.
crime, pwede kang mabangga ng tricycle, ng kotse, truck, and ang daming bully sa kalye, 'di ba? Ang daming road rage. All kinds of things can happen to you in the city. Here, our only danger is the volcano. It's a big danger, but it's the only thing we're really concerned about.
Mhm.
We feel safe, we feel secure, we're comfortable here.
As long as you get fair warning, 'di ba?
Yeah, and then usually naman meron, and
Mm.
may alert levels. Bago naman pumutok yan, may seismic warning, may
Mhm.
yung tremors, di ba? May lindol. But let's put it this way, no? May history naman tong bulkan, no? The last time na nagkaroon ng casualties on this side of the lake due to volcanic eruption was at least more than a century ago. So hindi siya karaniwang nangyayari. Ang earthquake naman, pwede namang mangyari sa Manila, Quezon City. For example, dati nakatira ako sa Quezon City, right? Very near the earthquake fault. When you're in the Philippines, danger is never far away. So
Mhm.
we live with it, we adjust to it, we've adapted to it, but we should adapt to it even more, no? So I've adapted to it by moving away from it. Moving to another source of danger, yung vulkan, but to me it's more manageable. Of course you cannot control the volcano, but at least alerto kami rito.
Howie, parang seeing you and listening to your stories about living in Batangas and all that, parang it seems like you're really enjoying the lifestyle that you have now. Thank you so much again for being with us today. I hope you didn't mind the flow of this conversation because like you said,
No,
it's
not
not
at
what you're
all.
used to.
No. Yun nga. The reason why I started asking you all those questions because I was afraid you'd ask me hard ones. So
Nothing
because
like
I've
that
seen
here.
yeah, I know, but I've seen you in action in the news when you're not smiling and you're not laughing, no? You're quite serious. You can ask pretty tough questions but make it seem that they're not tough, no?
So that I'll
Yeah.
get an answer.
Yeah. So hindi masyadong intimidated and you'll get good answers. So that's part of your skill as well. And anyway, I'm happy about this conversation and glad that we were able to meet up this way. So thank you. And thanks for thanks for asking about, the way I live now. Only because I'm hoping other people will learn about alternative ways of living. Hindi naman lahat may privilege of being able to move part-time to the province. Siyempre, I need a car to go to the office and all of that, no? Pero still, kasi may mga minsan may default choices tayo. So, a lot of people feel dahil umiinit na yung planeta, kailangan lagi tayong naka-aircon, di ba? Pero ako, even in the city, I never really used air conditioning. I've learned how to deal with, electric fans lang and use ventilation to cool my spaces. So, yun lang. I mean, it's also a way of controlling yung tinatawag na carbon footprint, di ba?
Mhm.
Lahat naman tayo, dapat lahat tayo makisama these days, di ba? About how we're living. So thank you for asking about lifestyles and alternative ways of living, kasi it's part of our goal here of sharing that.
Oh, thanks for sharing it also with us. Thanks again so much, Howie. Thank you.
Salamat.
This surprise was planned by the team of Justin Kenneth Carandang and Orby de los Reyes, edited by Shirley Paghiligan with the amazing people of GMA Integrated News. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Till the next surprise.